No filters, no management excuses, just the raw, uncut truth from the heart of oil country. You're listening to Loyal to the Oil, podcast for fans who bleed blue and orange. Let's drop the puck. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Loyal to the Oil. It is Thursday, July 16th, 2026, and if you thought the offseason drama cooled down after the Canada Day madness, think again. The NHL just blew the doors open today by dropping the full expanded 84-game regular season schedule. We finally have a roadmap for the upcoming season, and it features an absolute gauntlet of a home opening series against the Vancouver Canucks starting September 29th. But before we unpack the calendar, we have to look back at the atomic bomb Stan Bowman dropped on free agency. I have to put my hands up and start today's show with a massive confession. Stan Bowman actually did it. He pulled off the impossible. Darnell Nurse blinked, expanded his trade list, and Bowman shipped his entire unmovable $9.25 million cap hit straight to the San Jose Sharks with absolutely zero salary retained whatsoever. The local media is treating Bowman like an absolute wizard right now. The fans are celebrating because the contract anchor is gone. But on this show, we look past the corporate hype. Today, we're breaking down the expanded 84-game schedule, dissecting the new goaltending tandem of Frederik Andersen and Devin Levi, grading the new $20 million man Ryan Shea, and asking the ultimate question. Did Bowman actually make this team better, or did he just replace one massive problem with a bunch of smaller ones? Grab a cold drink or two, oil country, because it's a hot one out there, and because oil country just got real complicated. Let's go! Well, guys, I have to admit, it's kind of been a while since I last got on here and recorded and uploaded anything. I've just been real busy. It was just Calgary Stampede here in Calgary. Yes, I'm an Oilers fan living in Calgary, for those of you who don't know. But yeah, I was too busy there having too much fun, so I never really got around to recording a new episode. But today, have no fear, your host is here. So let's start things off by breaking down the anatomy of the July 1st blockbuster that is still reverberating through the league. Darnell Nurse, a foundational piece of this franchise for 11 years, is now a San Jose Shark. He submitted a tight team of Eastern teams initially, like the Boston Bruins, Philadelphia Flyers, and Pittsburgh Penguins. But when it became clear Bowman was stuck, Nurse gave his blessing to the Sharks because they were the only team willing to absorb the full contract, no questions asked. The only team that wanted to take on this whole contract. Because my understanding was if he was going to go to the Bruins, the Flyers, or the Penguins, they wanted us to retain at least 30% of his salary. And the Bowman was like, no, there's just no way that's happening. So yeah, that's the one thing that I'm sure excited at least me and most Oiler fans. I've kind of seen a bit of a mixed reaction about Nurse leaving. Like, some people are happy he's gone because, he was kind of useless for the amount of money that he was being paid. Others kind of defended him, saying, like, oh, he plays heavy minutes and gives them his all. But I'll leave that up to you guys to decide. I personally am glad he's gone. Like, that's a waste of $9 million right there. But anywho, in return, the Oilers received from the Sharks Shakir Mukhamadullin and the rights to Zach Sharp. Now let's be completely real about the return player asset here. Sorry, this is gonna take some time to pronounce. Mukhamadullin is a 24-year-old former first-rounder who spent last year primarily in the American Hockey League. He signed a 2-year extension on July 3rd and is a prospect. But, the real return in this trade wasn't a human being. It was the $9.25 million in pure, unadulterated cap relief. Moving that contract without giving up a premium future first-round pick or retaining a single dollar is an executive masterclass by Bowman. I will give him full credit where credit is due. That is tidy asset liquidation. Like, because before, like, I was thinking, if there's any chance anyone's going to take on this contract, like, we're either going to have to retain a portion or even a majority of it, or we're going to have to, like, include some enticing returns, whether that be, like, I don't know, like a top six forward, a first round pick, prospects, that kind of thing. But yeah, please, hats off to Bowman for pulling it off. And yeah, huge shout out to Mike Grier, the San Jose Sharks general manager, on accepting the deal. I know some Sharks fans are kind of mad about the deal, and rightfully so, because, he's not producing like he's a $9.25 million a year. But yeah. So, like, here's where my skepticism now kicks in. Darnell Nurse was heavily criticized, and rightfully so, for his play versus paycheck. But, he also ate up massive top pairing, tough defensive minutes and played through the trenches of back to back Stanley Cup finals. Bowman just wiped that away. And how did he choose to spend that brand new chunk of cash? Let's take a look at his shopping list on free agency day. And yeah, there we go. Like I was saying, like he was playing heavy minutes. So, anywho, yeah, let's look at all the other moves that were made that day. Okay, so I gotta say, before I was like, I didn't have high expectations for what Bowman was gonna do. I think even after we got eliminated, he straight up said, highly unlikely that, next year's roster looks any different from this year's. And yeah, and of course, the last episode I posted before free agency opened up, yeah, I wasn't expecting him to do much, but boy, was I wrong. He cooked on Canada Day free agency. And let me elaborate. So instead of weaponizing the extra $9 million freed up to, land an elite top pairing game breaking defenseman, Bowman decided to spread the wealth and went for quantity over quality. So he went out and signed unrestricted free agent Ryan Shea to a 5-year, $20 million contract. That is a $4 million annual average value for a guy who spent his recent years playing bottom pairing minutes in Pittsburgh. And look, I don't mind this signing. I mean, the analytics crowd loves Shea. He quietly put up 35 points and was a plus 30 last season. He's talking a big game about chasing a cup with McDavid. But Bowman didn't stop there. Over the last 2 weeks, he locked up 4 defensemen total to fill out the depth chart. Ryan Shea, Shakir Mukhamadullin, Spencer Stastny, and Ty Eberson. Combined, those 4 players cost $8.58 million against the cap. Do you see the math Bowman is playing here? He is telling the fan base, look, I got 4 defensemen for less than the price of 1 Darnell Nurse. On paper, it looks clever, but let's look at the actual ice. None of those other 3 guys cracked double-digit points last year. They are all depth pieces who are going to be fighting for bottom pairing and penalty kill minutes in training camp. According to the projected lineup lines posted by NHL.com today, Matthias Ekholm and Evan Bouchard are a clear top pair. But after that, we have Jake Wallman paired with Connor Murphy, and the third pair is Ryan Shea alongside rookie Mukhamadullin. I sorry, it's gonna take me a while to pronounce that properly. But yeah, we don't have a true shutdown top 4 anchor to replace Nurse's minutes. If Murphy or Ekholm gets hurt, our defensive depth chart is a terrifying collection of unproven rookies and depth journeymen. Bowman didn't fix the defense; he just diversified the risk. Under Mike Babcock's rigid, heavy defensive system, this lack of an elite shutdown horse is going to expose us very, very quickly. But obviously, I hope otherwise, but time will tell at this point. Now let's look at where Bowman actually spent his money wisely. The crease. So, as you probably all know by now, goalies notoriously been a major weakness for us. I think that's been the main thing preventing, McDavid from finally lifting the coveted Stanley Cup. And even before we even moved Nurse's contract, I was I was skeptical at the idea of us being able to bring in someone new, but again, turns out I was wrong. The Oilers officially brought in two new goalies to completely reshape our goaltending dynamic. So I guess Tristan Jarry, for now, is here to stay. But they signed Stanley Cup winning veteran from last year, Frederick Anderson, to a 1 year, $2.8 million contract. He came out this week and said he's here to help the Oilers get over the hump and win a Stanley Cup. Then Bowman pulled off a slick trade with Buffalo, sending a 2028 third rounder to the Buffalo Sabres for 24-year-old Devin Levi. Now, of course, the Levi trade happened first, but later on, that was when the Anderson trade was announced. And yeah, I like this one too. I mean, Anderson's like a proven number one starter. He is getting up there in age. Like I think he'll be like 37 later this year. But on paper, he's better than anything we've had in recent years. But this means the Oilers are rolling into training camp with a three goalie system featuring Anderson, Levi, and Tristan Jarry. Insiders are debating this move heavily today, but I actually don't hate it. Jarry was completely overworked over his career, like bringing in a veteran like Anderson to manage the workload while letting a young, high upside asset like Devin Levi develop gives this team legitimate goaltending insurance. If Jarry falters or gets hurt, we aren't dead in the water. Out of everything Bowman did on July 1st, stabilizing the net is his finest piece of work. But let's look at the final cap report card. He re-signed Kasperi Kapanen to a $2.6 million deal, brought in Matthew Joseph from the Los Angeles Kings, signed Colton Dach to a 2-year deal on July 12th, and still has about $4.7 million in cap space remaining. He survived the week, but is this roster actually better than the one that went to the finals in 2024 and 2025? I guess we shall soon see. Okay, and now that the free agency frenzy of ours is out of the way, and had I posted another episode earlier, that would have been the sole topic. But we've got a bigger fish to fry right now. That is the breaking news of the day, the official 2026-27 NHL regular season schedule release. The headline here is that the NHL is officially back to an 84-game regular season schedule for the first time since 1994. Every single team is playing 2 extra divisional games. For the Oilers, that means 2 extra bloodbaths against our Pacific Division rivals. Mark your calendars because opening night is Tuesday, September 29th. Wake me up when September almost ends. So we're opening the season on home ice at Rogers Place against none other than the Vancouver Canucks. And the NHL schedulers aren't giving us any time to breathe. It's a direct home and home doubleheader. We play them at home on Tuesday, then we fly straight to Rogers Arena in Vancouver to face them in their home opener on Thursday, October 1st. Talk about a trial by fire for Mike Babcock. You're launching your coaching tenure with a high stakes back-to-back division rivalry set against a team that wants to tear our heads off and is also in the midst of yet another rebuild. They just can't seem to get out of it. But anywho, we're not worried about the Canucks. We're worried about the Oilers here. And looking at the rest of the calendar that dropped today, the storylines write themselves. January 13th, that's when the Sharks come to town for the first time. The exact day that Darnell Nurse steps back into Rogers Place to face the fans who booed him out of town. We've got a grueling schedule ahead, and with a 3-goalie rotation and a patchwork defense, October and November are going to tell us exactly what this team is made of. I'll go over the schedule a bit more in a future episode, but for the sake of not having to hear me talk on my own for so long, I'm just going to skip it for right now. All right? Good. That is going to do it for episode 3 of Loyal to the Oil. So, to summarize what I discussed today, Stan Bowman saved his job on July 1st by pulling off the ultimate escape room trick with the Darnell Nurse contract, but the real test begins on September 29th when Mike Babcock tries to coach this brand new patchwork defense against the Vancouver Canucks in back-to-back contests. I want to hear from you, Oil Country. Are you buying the Ryan Shea top 4 hype? Or are you worried about the lack of an elite shutdown defenseman that would take this team to a whole other level? In theory, anyway. How do you feel about the 3 goalie system with Anderson, Levi, and Jari? And what are your thoughts on the expanded 84-game schedule? Subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Drop your comments below, hit that like button, and let's keep the debate going. That's it for episode 3 of Loyal to the Oil. Subscribe now, drop your comments below, and don't let management gaslight you. Keep it locked right here all season long. Stay loud, stay passionate, and stay loyal to the blue and orange. See ya!